If it's felt a little quieter here lately, it's because I've been refining not just what I offer, but how I live. And I didn't plan this. I just knew I had to stop long enough to hear what my life and my soul was really trying to tell me. And once I did, well, I couldn't keep going the way I was. Let me tell you a story. Let's go back to the beginning of this year. As I walked into 2025, my life was everything, I'd spent the last decade building. A successful business, a huge following, financial freedom, designer clothes, beautiful handbags and shoes, and I do love a good shoe, content that landed every time I posted. From the outside, it looked like I had it all together. And in many ways, I did. But inside, something felt off, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. It started with my body. It always starts with our body. Aches and pains that wouldn't go away, a reoccurring eye infection that was really bringing me down, a kind of tiredness that sleep couldn't touch. And I was doing everything right. I'm doing air quotes here, training 5 days a week, walking daily, eating beautiful foods and sleeping well. But the fatigue was deeper than that. It was in my bones, and my body was whispering what I didn't yet have the words for. And slowly, and definitely from hindsight, as I look back, as I'm talking to you on this episode, I can see exactly what was going on. I was still living from survival. Even with everything I had built, even with all the freedom and success and space I had created for myself, that old rhythm, that old wiring, the one that said, keep going, push harder, star, stay visible, was still running underneath absolutely everything I did. And between you and I didn't want to stop. That's the truth. I thought, well, there was a part of me that thought if I stopped, everything would collapse, that I'd become irrelevant, that I'd lose my edge, my reach, my momentum. But my body was done. And because I'm immersed in this work, because I've been doing this work for such a long time, I knew I had to listen. And there was something else much bigger going on in the background in my personal life. I'd made a really important decision. It was life-changing. I had invited my adult son to move to Turkey with me. Now, when I was younger, I was an addict, and I was a terrible mother to my son. Terrible. I was selfish. I was absent. I was not there for him, and that had consequences, dire consequences. And my son over the years had on his own journey, lost himself and got into, I was going to say trouble, but got himself into a real pickle. About a year and a half ago, someone tried to unalive him, and his mental health was suffering. And something inside me at the end of last year was saying, it's time. It's time to invite him into your life again. And there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, no, I can't do this. I've built this life up. I'm not sure if I can do this. And I questioned my mothering skills, and I battled with this inside me for a long time last year. And yet as I walked into 2025, I knew that he had to come back home to me. And I didn't make this decision lightly, and I didn't make it from I should do it or I have to do it. It came from a knowing. It came from a really deep place inside me. And I didn't do it wasn't transactional. Was an unconditional offer. Come to Turkey, come here to take good care of yourself. I'll hold the space so you can do that. And we can reconnect. We can find our ways back to each other. And I was ready. And I'd never been ready before. I was ready to create a different relationship, to love differently, to mother differently, and to be seen and held in a new way, and not just by him, but by myself. So all of this was going on, and it culminated in this pull, this knowing to stop. And so I did. There was no plan. There was no rebrand. There was no pivot. I surrendered and allowed myself to be in stillness, quiet. And I didn't do what the old version of me would have done as this stillness, as this quietness entered into my life. I didn't scramble around. I didn't try to map out a new way of coming back into my business. I didn't make it a storyline or perform it online. I let go. And in fact, I remember at the time in my house, I had all these posters and post-its and notes written all around my house around what I was going to do in 2025. And I ripped them all down. It was very ceremonious. And I was like, let it go. Let it go, Star, and just move into the space of the unknown. I practice what I teach. I lean back. And this is one of the core principles of my work, the art of leaning back. And it became, over the last 2 to 3 months, not something I knew, but something I really deeply embodied. And all the years I've spent reparenting myself, tending to my nervous system, building inner safety, this was the moment all of it came forward. And not as, again, you might hear the theme in here, not because I had to, not because I thought I had to do it, or I should do it, or something else to tick off my list. It wasn't a performance. This was a presence. This came from who I was. I let go of having to know the answers. I stopped forcing clarity. I rested, I walked, I moved my body, I ate good food, I slept deeply. And in the middle of all of this, my son and I rescued 4 baby kittens. They were 2 days old when we found them. And I was just speaking to my son a minute ago, and they're 5 weeks old tomorrow. And we let the softness of loving them into our home, into our lives. And somewhere in the rhythm of all this quiet, of all this love, something shifted between my son and I. We began to trust each other, to see each other, to soften in ways that had never been safe before. And yes, I'm not going to lie to you, there were moments, and there still are moments, I want to fall back into old patterns, to raise my voice, to withdraw, to make decisions from fear, but I didn't and I don't. I pause, I breathe, I stay. I stay with myself over and over again, because this is what devotion, and you're going to hear me talk a lot about devotion, looks like when it's real. Not something that's pretty on the page. Devotion is something you live moment to moment when no one is watching, no one is clapping for you. And in this space of stillness, this space of me leaning back from all the shoulds, I met different parts of me inside. And this is what I'd say about this inner work, that there are always different layers. There's deeper and deeper layers. And as I've transitioned over these past couple of months, the teenage girl has come up who only knew how to survive by staying busy. So greeting her, and the inner child who learned that love had to be earned through perfection, and the high functioning woman who didn't know how to rest without guilt. And also, she didn't really know how to rest, full stop. I didn't try to fix these parts of me. I stayed with them. I whispered sweet nothings in their ears, and I let them know that they were safe now, that I could hold them, that they didn't have to lead the way. And this, to sit with myself without proving something, without producing, without performing, has been and is the most sacred thing I've ever done. It felt like a homecoming. There is something profoundly powerful about looking at every part of who you are and saying, I see you. I'm not going anywhere. I love you. This is what safety feels like. This is what trust feels like. And this is what feeling wildly alive feels like. And from that place, I saw myself, all of me, not just the visible parts, the deep, quiet parts, the parts I used to think I had to earn my way back to. And I was in awe. I was in awe of who I was. It's like I saw myself. I recognized myself. And that's what this pause has given me, the audacity to be in awe of myself. And because of that, I hold everything differently. I hold my business the same way I hold myself, my body, my life, with reverence, with rhythm, with space to breathe. I don't move on timelines that don't fit me. I don't create on command. I don't rush to meet a moment that isn't mine. And what I offer now, well, it comes from devotion. The same depth of devotion I live with daily. The way I tend to myself is the same way I tend to my work, my clients, my relationships. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is performed. Nothing is diluted. I'm saying yes to love, to deeper connections, to the kind of intimacy that requires presence. I'm saying yes to my own desires, to joy, to beauty, to pleasure, to the spaciousness it takes to live a life that turns me on. And I'm saying no, very clearly, to anything that feels small, which includes small talk, shallow or constricting. No to surface level conversations, so important I mentioned that twice. No to urgency, and no to anything that flattens who I am. Because who I am now is different. I'm mature. I'm rooted. I'm refined. There's an elegance to how I move now, a clarity. I'm composed not as a mask, but as a state of being. I live from the inside out, from love, from standard, from truth. This isn't a new chapter. It's not a pivot. It's a return, a reorientation, a full body remembering. And this return isn't just for me. This is for the woman who already has a full life. She's successful, driven, capable, And from the outside, it all looks good. But somewhere inside, she knows something's missing. It's not success. It's not more output. What's missing is softness, stillness, truth, real connection, not just with others, but with herself. She's done holding it all alone. She's done outsourcing her value to numbers, metrics, men, or mentors. She's done pretending she's fine when she's not. She wants to feel again, breathe again, live again. She doesn't need to be taught how to rise. She needs space to return. This is for her. So, no, I'm not back in the way I used to be. I'm not feeding the algorithm. I'm not rushing to fill the silence. I'm living a life that's rooted, intentional, devoted. And what I share from here forward will always come from that place. There's nothing to prove anymore, just a deeper standard to live by. This is my return, and it touches everything I do.